ISBN number that I used is actually one of the BFS's. Because I was running the BFS's special publications, I didn't want to have to buy a whole load of ISBNs just for one book, so I needed one of theirs, because I was in charge of it all. So I think, that worked. We'll do that. They never know, they never knew. So we did that. So that was the first Telos book. But Telos Publishing didn't exist at that point, because it was done just as a one-off book. So then what happened was that I was really into a horror TV series called Urban Gothic. Do you remember Urban Gothic?
Yeah.
Channel 5, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, I can't remember what it was, the late nights, Friday night thing. Fabulous series. I absolutely loved the first series. Thought, oh, this is wonderful, wonderful series. It was just my cup of tea. Because I was doing the books for the BFS, I kind of thought, well, let's do a book. Let's test the BFS, we can do a book on Urban Gothic. What a great idea. So I got in touch with the producers and the writer and discovered they were massive Doctor Who fans, and that the whole of Urban Gothic was being done exactly the same as Doctor Who was, on a shoestring. I was going to say, yes, ceiling tape and bits of string and wax and glue tack holding it all together kind of thing. No money at all. But they got fantastic product out of it because they loved it and they were doing it all for love and they're having a great time. So I thought, oh, this is good. So we started to plan out this book we were going to do, Urban Gothic book of short stories. So it all started to come together. And then, I'll come back to this story in a minute, but then we realised that because we needed to have a contract with a production company in order to do the book, because obviously we were getting the rights from the production, it was all getting a little bit complicated in terms of the contracts and how this fitted together and how this worked. At the same time as all of this was going on, a good friend of mine called Pete Crowther had started up a small press called PS Publishing. And I don't know, again, you may not be aware of this, but PS started up specialising in publishing novellas and short stories and stuff like that from well-known authors that they couldn't sell. Because traditionally there's no market for that kind of fiction in bookshops, that people don't want to go and buy a novella or whatever. They want to go and buy a novel that's 300 foot long or something. They don't want to buy something short. So Peter started up this press doing this, and I liked what he was doing. And I thought, oh, we could do some Doctor Who ones of those. That would be interesting. We could do some Doctor Who ones of those. So combined with my kind of disillusionment at the BBC not wanting to publish any of my books anymore, it was like, well, I might as well do some of my own stuff. I'll do it myself. I did it with the Toy Box book. I might as well do it myself. So I went to the BBC and said, could we do Doctor Who novellas? Here's the pitch. We want to do this. We want to do that. We want to do that. And they said, yeah, you can do that. Oh, all right then, okay. And they said, okay, but we won't deal with you as an individual. We will only deal with a company. So I had to have a company because they would not deal with an individual. It's to do with insurance and all this kind of stuff. So what I did was, I basically had a chat with Steve Walker, a friend of mine, who's doing 678 books. I knew that Steve, and you wouldn't have known this, that Steve used to work for the government. He was a civil servant, specialising in small business legislation. So Steve, I said to Steve, okay, would you join me in this and handle the business side, and I'll handle the kind of the editorial side of things, and we'll do Telos Publishing. And he said, yeah, that's fine. So we set up Telos Publishing, specifically to do the Doctor Who novellas, because the BBC wouldn't deal with us as an individual. We had to have the company. Having set up Telos Publishing Limited, flashback to the Urban Gothic book, all of the legal stuff immediately becomes less of a problem if you've got a company dealing with it than if you've got the British Fantasy Society dealing with it, who would be liable for any money if there was any issues or such. So I thought, right, we'll do it as a co-production. So Telos Publishing signed the contracts with the production company to do the collection, but it was co-published with the BFS, so we could do the book. So it's great the way these things kind of work out. So the Urban Gothic book actually came out first, and the Urban Gothic collection was the first ever proper Telos Publishing Limited book. Very closely followed by Time and Relative, which was Kim Newman's first Doctor Who novellas. And I think Time and Relative came out, I think it was November 2001. I think we started planning it all in 2000, but I think it came out in November. It might have been a month late because the BBC wouldn't approve certain things of it, so famous story, I don't know about it really, but But yeah, so that's kind of how Tellus Publishing all started. So as I say, it was like, it's not so much a, I'm going to start a publishing